Imagine waking up one morning. Everything seems normal. You get out of bed, make your coffee, and start another ordinary day. But later that evening, something happens that leaves you confused. Your body doesn't respond the way it used to. At first, you tell yourself it's just stress. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you didn't sleep well. Maybe tomorrow will be different. Then it happens again and again. Weeks turn into months. Your confidence starts fading. You begin avoiding intimacy. You stop talking about it because admitting the problem feels embarrassing, even to yourself. Here's the surprising part. Many men immediately blame aging. Some blame low testosterone. Others assume it's simply part of getting older. But according to many urologists and cardiovascular specialists, that's only part of the story. What if some of the foods sitting in your kitchen right now are quietly working against your blood vessels, your hormones, and the delicate systems your body depends on for healthy sexual function? Not overnight, not after one meal, but little by little, year after year. The truth is that erectile dysfunction is often one of the body's earliest warning signs that something deeper may be happening. Reduced blood flow, poor metabolic health, chronic inflammation, high blood sugar, even elevated blood pressure. These problems frequently appear long before a heart attack or stroke, and sometimes erectile difficulties are among the first noticeable symptoms. That's why many health experts encourage men not to ignore changes in sexual function. Instead, they recommend treating them as an opportunity to look at overall health. Now, this doesn't mean that any single food causes erectile dysfunction, nor does it mean that avoiding one ingredient will magically solve the problem. Human health is far more complex than that, but research does suggest that long-term dietary patterns can influence the health of your blood vessels, hormone balance, body weight, blood sugar, and cardiovascular system, all of which play important roles in erectile function. Today, we'll explore 7 everyday foods that many experts recommend limiting if your goal is to support better vascular and sexual health. Some of these foods may surprise you because they're commonly found in homes, restaurants, and even products marketed as healthy. We'll also discuss healthier alternatives and explain the science in clear, practical language, so you can make informed choices rather than relying on myths or internet rumors. And be sure to stay until the end, because the final food is one that millions of men consume every single day without realizing how it may affect their long-term health. Let's begin. Before we talk about the first food, it's important to understand something that many men never hear from their doctor. An erection is not just about sex. It's actually a remarkable demonstration of how well several systems in your body work together. Think of it like an orchestra. Every instrument has to play at exactly the right moment. Your brain sends the signal. Your nerves carry the message. Your heart pumps oxygen-rich blood. Your blood vessels relax and widen. Your hormones help support desire and normal function. And your muscles respond with precise timing. If even one of these systems begins to struggle, the entire process can become less reliable. That's why many urologists say erectile dysfunction is often not just a sexual health issue, it can be an overall health issue. In fact, the blood vessels that supply the penis are much smaller than the arteries that supply the heart. Because they're smaller, they may show signs of reduced blood flow earlier than larger arteries elsewhere in the body. That's one reason doctors sometimes view new erectile problems as a reason to evaluate cardiovascular health, blood pressure, cholesterol, blood sugar, and other risk factors. In other words, your body may be sending an early signal that deserves attention. Not panic, but attention. Unfortunately, many men do the opposite. They ignore the problem. They blame stress. They tell themselves they're simply getting older, or they search online for a quick fix. While age can influence erectile function, healthy aging does not automatically mean losing your sex life. Many men in their 60s, 70s, and even beyond continue to enjoy satisfying intimacy because they take care of the foundations of their health. One of those foundations is the health of your blood vessels. Healthy arteries are flexible. They expand when your body needs more blood flow. A key molecule involved in this process is nitric oxide. Nitric oxide helps signal the muscles around blood vessels to relax, allowing blood to flow more easily. When this system works well, blood circulation supports normal erectile function. But certain long-term habits can interfere with it. Poorly controlled diabetes can damage blood vessels and nerves. High blood pressure can stiffen arteries over time. Smoking can injure the lining of blood vessels. Excess body fat can contribute to chronic inflammation and hormonal changes. Lack of physical activity can reduce cardiovascular fitness. And diets that are consistently high in highly processed foods, added sugars, unhealthy fats, and excess sodium may also contribute to these problems over the years. Notice the pattern. It's rarely one meal. It's rarely one ingredient. It's the overall pattern repeated day after day, month after month, and year after year. That's why today's discussion isn't about creating fear around food. It's about recognizing habits that may gradually affect your health. The encouraging news is that the body can often respond positively to healthier choices. For many people, improving diet quality, staying physically active, managing weight, getting enough sleep, controlling blood sugar and blood pressure, and working with a healthcare professional can all help support better vascular health. Some men also benefit from addressing stress, anxiety, or relationship concerns, since emotional health can play a significant role in sexual function. Remember, erectile dysfunction is often influenced by multiple factors working together. There is rarely one single cause, and there is rarely one single solution. That brings us to the foods we'll discuss today. These aren't forbidden foods. They're foods that many people eat regularly, often in large amounts, without realizing how they may fit into a dietary pattern associated with poorer cardiovascular and metabolic health. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is awareness. As we go through each one, ask yourself a simple question. Is this something I eat occasionally, or something that has quietly become part of my daily routine? Sometimes, the smallest changes repeated consistently produce the biggest results over time. And the very first food on our list is one that hides in places most people never expect. Let's begin with a food that millions of people eat without giving it a second thought. It's quick, it's convenient, it tastes great, and for many families, it's a regular part of breakfast, lunch, or dinner. We're talking about processed meats. These include foods like bacon, sausage, hot dogs, deli meats, pepperoni, salami, and many packaged meat products that have been cured, smoked, salted, or preserved. Now let's be clear. Enjoying one of these foods once in a while is not likely to cause erectile dysfunction on its own. The concern is frequent, long-term consumption as part of an overall unhealthy dietary pattern. So why do urologists and heart specialists often encourage moderation? The answer begins with your blood vessels. Healthy erections depend on healthy circulation. When blood vessels are flexible and functioning well, they can deliver the increased blood flow needed during sexual arousal. But over time, diets consistently high in processed meats have been associated with an increased risk of cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, and other conditions that can impair vascular health. Many processed meats are high in sodium, which can contribute to elevated blood pressure in some people. High blood pressure doesn't usually cause symptoms at first. In fact, many people feel perfectly fine while it slowly damages the inner lining of their arteries. As blood vessels become less healthy and less flexible, blood flow throughout the body, including to the penis, may be affected. Processed meats may also contain high amounts of saturated fat, depending on the product. When eaten frequently as part of an unbalanced diet, saturated fat may contribute to unfavorable cholesterol levels in some individuals, increasing the risk of plaque buildup in the arteries over time. Think of your arteries like a network of highways. When traffic moves freely, everything arrives on time. But if lanes gradually become narrowed or damaged, traffic slows. Blood flow works in a similar way. Even small reductions in circulation can make a noticeable difference in tissues that rely on rapid increases in blood flow. Another issue is that processed meats often replace healthier options. If breakfast is bacon every morning instead of oatmeal, fruit, yogurt, or eggs with vegetables, if lunch is processed deli meat instead of grilled chicken, beans, tuna, or lentils, then you're not only consuming more sodium and preservatives, you may also be missing nutrients that support heart and blood vessel health. This is what nutrition experts call the opportunity cost of food. Every food you choose is also a food you're not choosing. That simple idea can have a powerful effect over the years. Now imagine two men, both 62 years old. The first man has eaten processed meats almost every day for decades. He rarely eats vegetables. Most of his meals come from fast food restaurants or convenience stores. His blood pressure has slowly crept upward. His cholesterol is higher than recommended. He's gained weight around his waist. He notices that his erections have become less reliable, but he assumes it's simply because he's getting older.
Many
the second man
meats
isn't
contain
perfect
higher
either.
amounts of
He
sodium
still enjoys
and
bacon
preservatives
occasionally.
than fresh
He'll
meats.
have a hot dog
High
at a baseball
sodium
game.
levels link
He
to
celebrates
hypertension.
holidays with family meals, but most days his plate looks different. He chooses grilled fish, skinless chicken, beans, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, and fruit more often than processed meats. He stays active by walking after dinner. He manages his blood pressure with the help of his doctor. Over the years, those small choices add up, not because one man is perfect and the other isn't, but because consistent habits shape long-term health. This isn't about guilt, it's about patterns. If processed meats are an everyday habit in your life, consider asking yourself, Could I replace just 2 or 3 servings each week with something healthier? Small changes are often easier to maintain than dramatic ones. For example, swap bacon for eggs with spinach and tomatoes. Choose grilled chicken instead of deli meat for sandwiches. Try beans or lentils in soups and stews. Enjoy salmon or other oily fish once or twice a week if it fits your diet. Add a handful of unsalted nuts as a snack instead of processed meat sticks. These changes don't just support erectile health. They may also benefit your heart, brain, kidneys, and overall well-being. And that's an important point. The goal isn't simply better erections. The goal is a healthier body that supports every aspect of your life, from walking up the stairs without getting winded to enjoying time with your spouse, grandchildren, and friends. Remember, erections don't happen in isolation. They're closely tied to the health of your blood vessels. Protect your circulation, and you're investing in much more than your sex life. You're investing in your future. Now, if processed meats surprised you, the next food may surprise you even more. Because many people think it's harmless. Some even believe it's a healthier choice. Yet, when consumed in excess, it can quietly push blood sugar higher, contribute to weight gain, and increase the risk of conditions that are strongly linked with erectile dysfunction. Let's take a closer look. Now let's move to a habit that many people don't even think about. It's not something you chew, it's something you drink. And because it's a liquid, many people underestimate just how much sugar they're consuming. We're talking about sugar-sweetened beverages. This includes regular soft drinks, sweet tea, energy drinks, many flavored coffee beverages, sports drinks that aren't needed for exercise, and some fruit-flavored drinks that contain added sugars. Even certain bottled smoothies and healthy drinks can contain surprising amounts of sugar, so it's worth checking the nutrition label. Again, the concern isn't enjoying a sweet drink once in a while. The concern is making these beverages part of your daily routine. Imagine this. You start your morning with a sweetened coffee drink. You have a soda with lunch. Later in the afternoon, you grab an energy drink to fight fatigue. With dinner, another soft drink. By bedtime, you've consumed far more added sugar than you may have realized, and most of it came from beverages that didn't make you feel very full. Over time, this pattern can contribute to weight gain, insulin resistance, and type 2 diabetes in many people. Why does that matter for erectile health? Because healthy blood sugar is closely connected to healthy blood vessels and healthy nerves. When blood sugar remains high over long periods, it can damage the tiny blood vessels that carry oxygen and nutrients throughout the body. It can also affect the nerves involved in sexual arousal and erectile function. This is one reason erectile dysfunction is more common among men with poorly controlled diabetes. In fact, for some men, changes in erectile function may appear before diabetes is diagnosed. That doesn't mean erectile dysfunction always indicates diabetes, but it can be one reason a healthcare professional recommends checking blood sugar, blood pressure, cholesterol, and other cardiovascular risk factors. Your body often gives small warning signs before larger health problems develop. The key is recognizing them early. Let's talk about another issue with sugary drinks. They don't just affect blood sugar. They can also make it easier to consume excess calories without noticing. Think about eating an apple. It contains natural sugars, yes, but it also provides fiber, water, and nutrients that help you feel satisfied. Now compare that with drinking a large sugary soda. The calories go down quickly. You may still feel hungry, and it's easy to drink hundreds of calories in just a few minutes. Over months and years, those extra calories can contribute to abdominal weight gain. Why is that important? Because carrying excess fat around the waist is associated with a higher risk of conditions such as insulin resistance, high blood pressure, and metabolic syndrome, all of which can affect blood vessel health. Excess body fat may also influence hormone balance, including testosterone levels in some men. It's another reminder that erectile function reflects overall health. Let's look at a simple example. Meet David. He's 58 years old. He doesn't eat many desserts, so he believes his sugar intake is low. But every day he drinks 2 large sodas, a sweetened iced tea, and a flavored coffee. When his doctor reviews his diet, David is surprised to learn that beverages, not desserts, are contributing most of his added sugar. Over time, David makes a few practical changes. He replaces 1 soda each day with sparkling water flavored with lemon or lime. He gradually switches from sweetened tea to unsweetened tea. He chooses plain coffee with a small amount of milk instead of sugary flavored drinks.
Now, let's look at the vascular health on this tablet.
These changes don't transform his health overnight. But 6 months later, he's lost some weight, his blood sugar has improved, and he feels more energetic. His doctor reminds him that these improvements benefit far more than the number on the scale. They support the health of his heart, blood vessels, and overall quality of life. That's the power of consistent habits. Not perfection, consistency. If you're wondering what to drink instead, here are a few ideas. Plain water, chilled or with slices of citrus or cucumber. Sparkling water without added sugar. Unsweetened tea, served hot or cold. Black coffee or coffee with a modest amount of milk, if tolerated. Low-fat or unsweetened dairy or fortified plant-based beverages, depending on your dietary needs. These options help reduce added sugar while keeping you hydrated, and hydration itself matters. When your body is well hydrated, your heart doesn't have to work as hard to circulate blood, and your overall physical performance may benefit. While hydration alone won't prevent erectile dysfunction, it's one more piece of the bigger picture of maintaining good health. Now, before we move on, remember this important message. No single drink causes erectile dysfunction, and no single drink cures it. What matters most is the overall pattern of your diet and lifestyle over months and years. That pattern influences your blood vessels, your metabolism, your body weight, and your long-term health. And the next food on our list is one that many people assume is harmless because it's served at nearly every meal. Yet, when consumed in excess, it may quietly contribute to high blood pressure, one of the leading risk factors for vascular problems. Let's talk about too much sodium and where it often hides. If I asked you where most of the sodium in the average diet comes from, what would you say? Many people immediately answer, the salt shaker. But surprisingly, for many adults, the biggest source of sodium isn't the salt they sprinkle on their food. It's the processed and packaged foods they eat every day. Frozen dinners, canned soups, instant noodles, packaged snacks, fast food meals, frozen pizzas, boxed side dishes, packaged sauces, restaurant meals. Even foods that don't taste especially salty can contain surprisingly high amounts of sodium. That's why high sodium intake has earned a reputation as a hidden health risk, not because salt is inherently bad. Your body actually needs sodium to help regulate fluid balance, nerve signals, and muscle function. The problem is too much sodium, too often, especially when it's paired with a diet low in fruits, vegetables, and other potassium-rich foods. So how does this relate to erectile health? The connection begins with blood pressure. When sodium intake stays consistently high, some people are more likely to develop high blood pressure over time. High blood pressure doesn't usually announce itself with pain or obvious symptoms. That's why it's often called the silent killer. Many people feel perfectly healthy while their arteries are gradually becoming less flexible. Over time, elevated blood pressure can damage the delicate inner lining of blood vessels, making it harder for them to expand normally. And remember what we discussed earlier? Healthy erections depend on healthy blood flow. If blood vessels lose some of their ability to relax and widen, it can become more difficult to achieve or maintain an erection. That's one reason healthcare professionals often evaluate blood pressure when a man reports new erectile difficulties. In some cases, erectile dysfunction can be an early clue that the cardiovascular system deserves a closer look. Let's make this easier to picture. Imagine your arteries as a brand new garden hose. Water flows smoothly. The hose bends easily. Everything works exactly as it should. Now imagine that hose after years of wear and tear. It becomes stiffer, less flexible, more difficult for water to move through efficiently. Your arteries can undergo similar changes when exposed to years of uncontrolled high blood pressure, smoking, poorly managed diabetes, and other cardiovascular risk factors. The encouraging news? Many of these risks can be improved with healthier daily habits and appropriate medical care. Let's meet another example. Robert is 67 years old. He doesn't think he eats much salt because he rarely adds any at the table. But when his doctor asks about his meals, a different picture appears. Breakfast is packaged sausage biscuits. Lunch is canned soup and crackers. Dinner is frozen lasagna. Late night snacks are chips. None of those meals required a salt shaker. Yet together, they provide far more sodium than Robert realized. His blood pressure has been creeping upward for years. He feels fine, but recently he has noticed that his erections aren't as dependable as they once were. His doctor doesn't blame one specific food. Instead, they look at the bigger picture. Together, they create a realistic plan. More home-cooked meals, fresh vegetables, beans, whole grains, lean proteins, less reliance on highly processed convenience foods. 3 months later, Robert's blood pressure begins to improve. He has more energy, he sleeps better, And while lifestyle changes aren't a guaranteed cure for erectile dysfunction, improving cardiovascular health supports the systems that erections depend on. Notice something important. None of these recommendations involve extreme diets. No expensive supplements. No miracle powders. No secret ingredient advertised on social media. Just simple, consistent habits supported by decades of nutrition and cardiovascular research. Here are a few practical ways to reduce sodium without feeling deprived. Compare nutrition labels when shopping and choose lower sodium versions whenever possible. Flavor meals with herbs, garlic, onion, lemon juice, black pepper, or spices instead of relying only on salt. Cook more meals at home where you control the ingredients. Rinse canned beans and vegetables to reduce some of the added sodium. Limit processed snack foods and replace them with fresh fruit, unsalted nuts, yogurt, or raw vegetables. When dining out, consider requesting sauces or dressings on the side, since they can be major sources of sodium. These aren't dramatic changes, but over the course of a year, they can make a meaningful difference. Remember, the goal isn't just lowering blood pressure. It's protecting the health of your blood vessels, your heart, your kidneys, your brain, and yes, your erectile function. Everything in the body is connected. Healthy circulation doesn't only help you during intimate moments, it helps you walk farther, think more clearly, stay active, and maintain your independence as you age. And now we're about to discuss a food that's often marketed as comfort
Daily
food.
meal icons
Many people
appear
eat it
across the
several
calendar
times
as
a week
cumulative
without giving it
calorie
much
counter
thought.
increases,
It's crispy,
emphasizing
it's
long-term
satisfying.
habits
But when it
rather
becomes a
than a
regular
single meal.
habit, it may contribute to inflammation, weight gain, and poorer cardiovascular health. Let's talk about deep fried foods and why moderation matters more than many people realize. Now let's talk about a food category that many people associate with comfort, celebration, and convenience. Golden French fries, crispy fried chicken, fried fish, onion rings,
The health
potato
implications
chips,
of weight gain
fried
are
pastries.
significant.
These foods
Healthy
are
blood pressure
undeniably
is
appealing.
120
They're
over-
crunchy, flavorful, and satisfying. The problem isn't enjoying them occasionally. The concern is when deep fried foods become a regular part of your diet several times a week or even every day. Why? Because frequent consumption of fried foods is often linked with dietary patterns that increase the
journey
risk of
begins in a
obesity,
healthy
high
artery
blood pressure,
with smooth
type 2
endothelium
diabetes,
and clear
and
flow. The
cardiovascular
artery shows
disease.
signs
Each of
of
these conditions
inflammation
can
with-
negatively affect the blood vessels and nerves that support normal erectile function. Remember, erections depend on healthy circulation. Anything that gradually damages your cardiovascular system can also affect sexual health. Let's look a little deeper. When foods are deep fried,
like to get
they
the Whopper
absorb
combo
fat
and a
from the
chicken
cooking
sandwich.
oil.
All
That
right,
means
here's
the
your order.
finished
Enjoy.
product is often
you like to
much
add an
higher in
apple pie today?
calories than the
the
same
combo,
food
please.
prepared by baking, grilling, steaming, or roasting. For example, a baked potato and a serving of French fries may start with the same ingredient, but once the potato is submerged in hot oil, its nutritional profile changes dramatically. Eat these foods occasionally, and your body can usually handle it. But if fried foods become your default choice, the extra calories can contribute to gradual weight gain. Many people don't notice 5 pounds or 10, but over 10 or 15 years, those small increases add up. And excess body fat, especially around the abdomen, is associated with insulin resistance, inflammation, and reduced cardiovascular health. All of these factors may increase the risk of erectile dysfunction. Another concern involves the oils themselves. When cooking oils are heated repeatedly, especially in commercial deep fryers, they can break down and form compounds that are less desirable for long-term health. While regulations and cooking practices vary, repeatedly used frying oil may contribute to oxidative stress, which researchers continue to study in relation to cardiovascular health. Again, this doesn't mean one order of fries is dangerous. It means that making deep fried foods a frequent habit may not support the healthiest environment for your blood vessels. Let's meet another example. Michael is 61. He works long hours and rarely cooks. On the way home, he stops at a fast food restaurant 4 or 5 evenings each week. His usual order? A double cheeseburger, large fries, and a sugary soft drink. It's quick, it's affordable, and after a long day, it's comforting. Over the years, Michael gains weight slowly. His doctor diagnoses high blood pressure. A few years later, his blood sugar begins to rise. Eventually, he notices changes in his erectile function. Was it the fries alone? No, it was the combination of daily habits that gradually affected his overall health. His doctor encourages him to make practical changes instead of trying to be perfect. Rather than eliminating every favorite food overnight, Michael starts with one goal. He limits fast food to once a week. On other days, he prepares simple meals at home: grilled chicken, baked fish, brown rice, roasted vegetables, fresh fruit for dessert. He also begins taking a 30-minute walk after dinner. 6 months later, he's lost weight, his blood pressure is improving, and he feels more energetic. His story reminds us of an important truth.
Quick and easy.
Good health
Breakfast
usually
and
isn't
coffee?
built by one
Done.
dramatic decision.
Now I'm ready for
It's
the
built
day.
by hundreds of small choices repeated consistently. If you enjoy fried foods, here are a few healthier alternatives. Bake or air fry potatoes instead of deep frying them. Grill, bake, or roast chicken instead of ordering fried chicken. Choose grilled fish more often than battered and fried fish. Roast vegetables with a small amount of olive oil for a satisfying texture. Experiment with herbs and spices to add flavor without relying on heavy breading or frying. Notice that these swaps don't ask you to give up the foods you love forever. They're simply ways to shift your overall eating pattern in a healthier direction. Now here's something else many people overlook. When someone orders fried food, it often comes with other unhealthy habits. A large sugary drink, extra sauces, a processed dessert, little or no vegetables, very little fiber. It's not just the fried food, it's the entire meal pattern. That's why healthcare professionals encourage people to focus on the quality of the whole diet rather than obsessing over a single ingredient. Think of your health like a savings account. Every nutritious meal is a small deposit. Every walk after dinner is another deposit. Every good night's sleep adds a little more. Over months and years, those deposits grow into something meaningful. Your heart benefits, your brain benefits, your energy improves, and your blood vessels have a better chance of staying healthy. That's an investment worth making. Now, the next food on our list is especially surprising because millions of people eat it every morning believing they're making a healthy choice. The packaging says low fat. The advertising says heart healthy. But many of these products contain something that can quietly work against your metabolic health. Let's take a closer look at highly processed, refined carbohydrates and sugary breakfast foods. Now let's talk about a habit that often begins before 8 o'clock in the morning. For many people, breakfast seems harmless. A bowl of sweetened cereal, a couple of glazed donuts, white toast with jam, a large muffin, a sugary breakfast bar, or a pastry grabbed on the way to work. These foods are quick, they're convenient, and they often taste delicious. But here's what many people don't realize. Some breakfast foods that appear healthy or are marketed as low-fat or made with whole grains can still contain large amounts of refined carbohydrates and added sugars. These foods are digested quickly, causing blood sugar to rise more rapidly than less processed options. Over time, regularly eating a diet high in refined carbohydrates may contribute to weight gain, insulin resistance, and a higher risk of type 2 diabetes in some individuals. Why does that matter? Because we've already learned that healthy blood sugar, healthy blood vessels, and healthy nerves are all important for erectile function. When your body repeatedly experiences large spikes in blood sugar, it has to produce more insulin to help move that sugar into your cells. Over months and years, some people become less responsive to insulin. This condition, known as insulin resistance, can eventually progress to prediabetes or type 2 diabetes if not addressed. And as we discussed earlier, diabetes is one of the strongest medical risk factors for erectile dysfunction. It can affect blood vessels, it can affect nerves, and it can make it more difficult for the body to maintain normal erectile function. But blood sugar isn't the only issue. Many refined carbohydrates are also low in fiber. Fiber helps slow digestion, supports a feeling of fullness, and contributes to healthier blood sugar control. When fiber is removed during processing, foods are often digested more quickly. That means you may feel hungry again sooner. Have you ever eaten a sugary breakfast and found yourself hungry just 2 hours later? That's a common experience. Compare that with a breakfast containing protein, healthy fats, and fiber. For example, oatmeal topped with berries and walnuts, plain Greek yogurt with fresh fruit, eggs served with vegetables and whole grain toast, steel-cut oats with cinnamon and chia seeds. These meals tend to provide more lasting energy and help many people stay satisfied longer. Let's meet another example. James is 64 years old. Every morning, he eats 2 large pastries and drinks a sweetened coffee. By 10:30, he's hungry again. He grabs a vending machine snack. After lunch, he feels sluggish. His energy crashes. He assumes this is simply what aging feels like. But after talking with a registered dietitian, James makes a few simple adjustments. He replaces pastries with oatmeal and berries 3 days a week. On other mornings, he has eggs with spinach and tomatoes. He switches from sweetened coffee drinks to regular coffee.
Hormone signals travel from the hypothalamus to the pituitary
he
gland,
notices something
then to the
unexpected.
thyroid, adrenals,
he
and
isn't
gonads,
as hungry in the middle of the
regulating
morning.
the body's vital
His energy
functions.
feels steadier. Over several months, he loses a little weight without following an extreme diet. His doctor also notices improvements in his blood sugar levels. These changes don't guarantee better erectile function, but they improve many of the underlying conditions that influence vascular and metabolic health. That's an important distinction. Lifestyle changes don't offer instant results. They help create a healthier environment for your body over time. And that's exactly what we're trying to achieve. Here's another interesting point. Many people focus only on sugar, but refined white flour can also be digested rapidly, especially when it's found in foods like white bread, pastries, cakes, cookies, and many packaged snack foods.
Since we started this.
That's wonderful to hear.
That's why nutrition experts often recommend replacing refined grains with whole grains whenever practical. Whole grains contain more fiber, vitamins, minerals, and plant compounds that support overall health. Simple swaps can make a meaningful difference. Choose whole grain bread instead of white bread. Replace sugary cereal with plain oatmeal. Choose brown rice instead of white rice more often. Snack on fruit and nuts instead of cookies or pastries.
Like my mother used
Read
to
nutrition
make.
labels and compare added sugar content before buying packaged foods. Notice that none of these suggestions require perfection. If you enjoy pancakes on a Sunday morning with your family, that's part of life. The goal isn't to eliminate enjoyment. The goal is to make healthier choices your everyday habit, while leaving room for occasional treats. That's a pattern that's far easier to maintain for years. And long-term consistency is what truly supports healthy aging. Before we move on, let's pause for a moment. So far, we've talked about processed meats, sugary drinks, high-sodium processed foods, deep-fried foods, refined carbohydrates, and sugary breakfast foods. Do you notice the common thread? None of these foods are dangerous because of one serving. The concern is frequent consumption over many years. It's the overall dietary pattern, not a single meal, that has the greatest impact on your heart, blood vessels, metabolism, and ultimately erectile health. Now we're about to discuss a food category that surprises many people because it's often promoted as convenient and inexpensive. Yet it may contain a combination of excess sodium, unhealthy fats, refined carbohydrates, and additives, all in one meal. Let's take a closer look at fast food and why making it an everyday habit may gradually work against your long-term health. Let's be honest, life gets busy. After a long day at work, cooking a healthy meal isn't always easy. It's much more convenient to drive through a restaurant, order a combo meal, and be home within minutes. There's nothing wrong with enjoying fast food occasionally. The concern begins when convenience turns into a daily habit. Why? Because many fast food meals combine several of the risk factors we've already discussed. They often contain large amounts of sodium, refined carbohydrates, deep-fried ingredients, added sugars, high-calorie sauces and dressings, large portion sizes. In other words, one meal may contain multiple ingredients that, when eaten frequently over many years, can contribute to weight gain, high blood pressure, elevated cholesterol, insulin resistance, and type 2 diabetes. Those conditions don't just affect your waistline, they affect your blood vessels, your heart, your metabolism, and ultimately, they may affect erectile function. Remember, an erection depends on healthy blood flow. If your cardiovascular system is under constant strain, it's harder for every part of your body to perform at its best. Think of your body like a car. If you regularly use poor quality fuel, ignore maintenance, and never change the oil, the engine may continue running for a while, but eventually, problems begin to appear. The same is true for your body. It often tolerates unhealthy habits for years before symptoms become noticeable. By the time fatigue, high blood pressure, diabetes, or erectile dysfunction appear, the underlying process may have been developing quietly for a long time. Let's meet another example. Tom is 59 years old. He works in sales and spends most of his day driving. Breakfast comes from a drive-thru. Lunch is usually a burger, fries, and soda. Dinner is often pizza or fried chicken because he's too tired to cook. He rarely thinks about nutrition because he feels fine. Then, during his annual physical, his doctor reviews the results. His blood pressure is elevated. His cholesterol has increased. His fasting blood sugar is approaching the pre-diabetes range. His waistline has grown by several inches over the past decade. And recently, Tom has begun noticing occasional difficulty maintaining an erection. His doctor doesn't tell him to swear off fast food forever. Instead, they focus on realistic improvements. Tom starts packing lunch 3 days a week. He orders grilled chicken instead of fried when he does eat out. He replaces soda with water or unsweetened iced tea. He asks for smaller portions and skips the oversized fries. These may sound like small changes, but after several months, Tom notices that he feels less sluggish in the afternoon. He's lost weight, his blood pressure begins to improve, and most importantly, he's addressing the root causes rather than simply treating the symptoms. That's a lesson worth remembering. When people think about erectile dysfunction, they often search for a quick solution, a pill, a supplement, a miracle product advertised online. But many healthcare professionals encourage patients to look beyond the immediate symptom, because improving overall cardiovascular and metabolic health benefits much more than sexual function. It can reduce the risk of heart disease, support healthy brain function, improve energy levels, enhance mobility, and help maintain independence later in life. Now here's an interesting question. Have you ever noticed that fast food is designed to encourage you to eat more than you planned? Larger portions for just a little extra money, unlimited refills, value meals, extra cheese, extra sauce, upsized fries. From a marketing perspective, it makes sense, but from a health perspective, those extra calories can quietly add up over time. One extra meal each week probably won't change your future, but hundreds of extra meals over the course of 10 or 20 years might. That's why experts often recommend following what some call the 80-20 approach. Aim to make nutritious choices most of the time. Leave room for special occasions and favorite foods without guilt. That approach is usually far more sustainable than trying to follow a perfect diet that no one can maintain. If you do eat at fast food restaurants, here are a few practical strategies. Choose grilled options instead of fried whenever available. Skip sugary soft drinks and choose water or unsweetened beverages. Add a side salad or fruit if it's available. Share larger meals or choose smaller portion sizes. Limit high-calorie sauces and creamy dressings. Avoid making fast food your default meal every day. These changes may seem modest, but over the course of years, they can help support healthier blood vessels, better blood pressure, and improved metabolic health. And that brings us to the final food on today's list. Interestingly, it's something many people don't even think of as food because it's often enjoyed while relaxing after work or during social gatherings. Some people believe it helps them unwind. Others believe it improves romance. But when consumed excessively over time, it may interfere with hormone balance, liver health, nerve function, and sexual performance. Let's talk about excess alcohol consumption and what many men don't realize about its long-term effects. We've reached the final item on today's list, and for many men, it may be the most unexpected. Strictly speaking, alcohol isn't a food, but because it's commonly consumed with meals and is a regular part of many social gatherings, it's important to include it in this discussion. Now let's begin with an important distinction. Moderate alcohol consumption is different from excessive or chronic alcohol use. For some adults, drinking little or no alcohol may be the healthiest choice. For others who choose to drink, moderation is generally recommended. Individual health conditions, medications, and personal circumstances all matter, so it's always best to discuss alcohol use with your healthcare provider. With that in mind, let's explore why drinking too much alcohol over time can affect erectile health. Many people believe alcohol helps improve sexual performance. After all, a drink may help someone feel more relaxed or less anxious. If you've stayed with me until this point, let me first say thank you. Taking the time to learn about your health is one of the best investments you can make, not just for yourself, but for the people who love and depend on you. Today, we didn't talk about miracle supplements, we didn't promise an overnight cure, and we didn't blame a single food for erectile dysfunction. Instead, we looked at something much more important, the everyday habits that shape your health over time. Let's take one final look at the 7 habits we discussed. Frequently eating processed meats, regularly drinking sugar-sweetened beverages, relying on high-sodium processed foods, eating deep-fried foods too often, starting the day with refined carbohydrates and sugary breakfast foods, making fast food your everyday meal, drinking excess alcohol on a regular basis. None of these automatically causes erectile dysfunction. But when they become part of a long-term lifestyle pattern, they may contribute to conditions such as high blood pressure, obesity, insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes, and cardiovascular disease. Those conditions can reduce healthy blood flow and increase the risk of erectile dysfunction. And that's the key message. Erectile health is often a reflection of overall health. Your heart, your blood vessels, your nerves, your hormones, your sleep, your physical activity, your nutrition, your stress levels, they're all connected. That's actually encouraging news, because it means many of the same habits that support your heart may also support your sexual health. You don't have to change everything tomorrow morning. In fact, trying to change everything at once often leads to frustration. Instead, choose one small habit this week. Maybe it's replacing one sugary drink each day with water. Maybe it's cooking one extra meal at home. Maybe it's taking a 20 or 30-minute walk after dinner. Maybe it's adding vegetables to your lunch, or scheduling that medical checkup you've been putting off. Small actions, repeated consistently, are far more powerful than dramatic changes that only last a few days. Think about where you'll be 1 year from now. Imagine you've made just one healthy decision every day. Not perfection, just progress. You may have lost some excess weight. Your blood pressure may be better controlled. Your energy may be higher. Your sleep may improve. Your confidence may return. And whether or not those changes improve erectile function directly, they'll almost certainly support your overall health and quality of life. That's a goal worth pursuing. Now, there's one more message I want to leave you with. Many men suffer in silence because they're embarrassed to talk about erectile dysfunction. Please don't let embarrassment keep you from seeking help. If you've experienced persistent difficulty getting or maintaining an erection, especially if it's a new change or it's been happening for several weeks or months, make an appointment with your healthcare provider. In many cases, erectile dysfunction is treatable, and sometimes it's an early warning sign of conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, or cardiovascular disease that deserve prompt medical attention. The sooner those conditions are identified, the more treatment options may be available. Remember, looking after your health isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of wisdom. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself and your family. A quick challenge for you. Before you leave this video, I'd like you to answer one simple question in the comments. Which one of today's 7 habits surprised you the most? Was it processed meats, sugary drinks, fast food, or perhaps excessive alcohol? Sharing your experience may encourage someone else to take that first healthy step. And if you've already made positive lifestyle changes that improved your health, tell us what worked for you. Your story could inspire another viewer who needs hope today. If you found this video helpful, please like this video so more people can discover this important information. Subscribe to the channel for more evidence-based health content designed specifically for adults over 50. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss future videos covering heart health, circulation, brain health, kidney health, healthy aging, nutrition, mobility, sleep, and men's wellness. Every week, we share practical strategies based on current medical understanding, without hype, without miracle claims, and without misinformation. Because healthy aging isn't about chasing quick fixes. It's about making informed decisions that help you live a longer, stronger, and more active life. But while alcohol can temporarily reduce inhibitions, it can also impair the body's normal sexual response, especially in larger amounts. In the short term, excessive drinking may make it more difficult to achieve or maintain an erection. That's because alcohol affects the brain, the nervous system, and the communication between the brain and the blood vessels that make an erection possible. But the bigger concern is what happens over the years. Chronic heavy drinking can contribute to several health problems that are closely linked with erectile dysfunction. These include high blood pressure, liver disease, nerve damage, hormonal changes, weight gain, poor sleep quality. Each of these factors can reduce the body's ability to support healthy sexual function. Let's talk about hormones for a moment. Healthy testosterone levels play an important role in sexual desire and normal reproductive function. Long-term excessive alcohol use may interfere with hormone balance in some men. It can also affect the liver, which plays a major role in processing hormones and maintaining many essential functions throughout the body. When liver health declines, overall health often declines with it. Sleep is another piece of the puzzle. Many people think alcohol helps them sleep because it makes them feel drowsy. But while it may help some people fall asleep faster, it can disrupt the quality of sleep later in the night. Poor sleep can affect energy, mood, blood pressure, metabolism, and hormone regulation, and all of those influence sexual health. Let's meet one final example. Richard is 66 years old. Every evening, he pours himself several large drinks while watching television. It's become part of his routine. He tells himself it's harmless because he only drinks at home. But over time, he notices several changes. He's gaining weight around his waist. He wakes up tired even after spending 8 hours in bed. His blood pressure is creeping higher, and his erections are becoming less reliable. At first, Richard assumes these changes are simply part of aging, but during a routine checkup, his physician asks detailed questions about his lifestyle. Together, they identify alcohol as one of several habits that may be contributing to his overall health problems. Rather than quitting everything overnight, Richard works with his healthcare team to gradually reduce his alcohol intake. He also begins walking every morning, improves his diet, and focuses on getting better quality sleep. Several months later, he notices something encouraging. He has more energy during the day. He's sleeping more soundly. His blood pressure has improved. He's lost weight. And although every person's experience is different, he feels healthier overall. That's the real goal. Not chasing a miracle, not expecting overnight results, but building a healthier body one decision at a time. As you've probably noticed throughout this video, none of these 7 items automatically causes erectile dysfunction, and avoiding them doesn't guarantee perfect sexual health. Human biology is much more complex than that. Erectile dysfunction can be influenced by many different factors, including cardiovascular disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, certain medications, smoking, obesity, hormonal conditions, depression and anxiety, chronic stress, relationship concerns, sleep disorders such as obstructive sleep apnea. That's why it's so important not to rely on self-diagnosis. If you've noticed persistent changes in your erections, especially if those changes last for several weeks or months, don't ignore them. Many men feel embarrassed. Some avoid talking about it for years. But healthcare professionals discuss erectile dysfunction every day. It's a common medical issue, and in many cases, it's treatable. More importantly, it can sometimes be an early sign of an underlying health condition that deserves attention. Seeking medical advice isn't just about improving your sex life. It could help identify cardiovascular disease, diabetes, or other conditions before they become more serious. That may be one of the most important messages in today's video. Your body often whispers before it shouts. The sooner you listen, the more opportunities you have to protect your health. So before we finish, let's quickly review the 7 habits we discussed today. 1. Frequent consumption of processed meats. 2. Regular intake of sugar-sweetened beverages. 3. High sodium processed foods. 4. Deep fried foods eaten too often. 5. Refined carbohydrates and sugary breakfast foods. 6. Fast food meals as a daily habit. 7. Excessive alcohol consumption over time.
Mary.
Notice the pattern. These foods and habits don't act alone. They often occur together as part of a lifestyle that affects blood vessels, metabolism, and overall cardiovascular health. The good news? Small improvements made consistently can support healthier aging. And that brings us to one final message that every man over 50 should hear. Thank you for watching. Take care of your heart, protect your blood vessels, nourish your body, and remember, the choices you make today help shape the health you'll enjoy tomorrow. We'll see you in the next video.